Sparks imagination, doesn't it? Nikola Tesla. Genius. Innovator. Maybe a little bit mysterious, too.
Definitely mysterious. His work really laid the groundwork for so much, but some of his bigger ideas are still, well, debated. Fiercely debated sometimes.
Exactly. So our mission today is to try and unpack some of that. Look at his more intriguing claims, his inventions.
Like scalar waves, the famous coils.
Right. And contrast those historical ideas with what science understands now. And, see how those old ideas maybe connect to modern debates about things like EMF.
Yeah, electromagnetic fields. It's still a really relevant topic.
So for sources, we've got quite a mix. There's a scientific memo about scalar waves.
One that claims they're real science.
Right.
We've also got like an online forum discussion really picking apart Tesla's bigger claims.
And a deep look at the Tesla coil itself, how it works, what it's used for.
Plus, something very current, a shareholder proposal raising concerns about electromagnetic radiation today.
So the goal is really to give you a clear picture, separate the, let's say, verified science from the maybe more speculative stuff.
And tie it all together. See the through line from Tesla to today.
Okay, let's dive in.
Let's do it.
First up, these longitudinal scalar waves, LSWs. Sounds very sci-fi.
It does, yeah. But one of our sources, this memorandum, it actually argues they're true science. Not pseudo, not fiction.
Okay, so where did this idea even come from? Not just Tesla.
Apparently not. The source traces it back to James Clerk Maxwell, the Scottish physicist, born 1831.
Oh, right. Maxwell's equations, electromagnetism, foundational stuff.
Exactly. He laid the groundwork. Then Tesla, early 1900s, supposedly built on Maxwell's work. He even, according to this source, made instruments that showed scalar energy existed.
So what are they, according to this view? What makes them different?
Well, they're described as instantaneous, like they cover the whole field at once.
Instantaneous, not traveling like light or radio waves.
Apparently not. They don't propagate along an axis, no specific direction, unlike those transverse EM waves we usually talk about.
And the properties.
This is where it gets really interesting. Lossless energy transmission over great distances.
Lossless.
Yeah, and lossless power transmission through solid metal objects. Wireless energy, basically. Even transmitting information, supposedly.
Okay, instantaneous and lossless, that sounds.
Well, it sounds like it breaks physics as we generally know it.
It certainly challenges the standard model, yeah. Normal waves lose energy over distance, right? Inverse square law and all that.
So if these LSWs were real in the way this source describes, it would be revolutionary. You can see how that kind of concept might have fueled Tesla's really big dream.
Yeah, absolutely, like his vision for worldwide wireless power.
Ah, yes, the big one. Tell us about that.
His idea was to essentially pump electricity into the space between the Earth and the ionosphere.
Using the Schumann resonance, that natural frequency of the Earth cavity? Exactly. He figured he could use giant Tesla coils to energize that whole cavity, and then power could be like extractable everywhere with the right receiver.
Wow. He even had this idea about the sun being positive, Earth negative. Yeah. Sort of cosmic battery.
Yeah, 200 billion volts, he thought. Cosmic energy. It was a grand vision.
But it didn't happen. Why not? What's the modern scientific take?
Well, it turns out it's really, really difficult, as one source puts it, to actually put significant power into that Earth ionosphere waveguide.
How difficult?
You'd need antennas several kilometers long, just massive.
Kilometers. Okay, that's impractical.
Pretty much. And even if you could, the amount of energy naturally available, say, from all the lightning worldwide, it's tiny for global power needs.
How tiny?
Around 312.5 megawatts. That's less than one standard nuclear reactor puts out.
So not enough to power the world, then?
Not even close. So while the basic idea of resonance works, like your wireless phone charger uses it on a tiny scale.
Right, inches away.
Yeah. Doing it globally for useful amounts of power, it's just not seen as feasible.
And the idea of its being free energy.
Also misleading. The infrastructure cost would be astronomical. Plus, who controls it? What are the environmental effects? Huge unknowns. It definitely wouldn't be free.
Okay, so wireless power on that scale remains a dream. What about his other big claims? The death ray. Teleforce.
Yes. He claimed it was perfectly practicable to send energy wirelessly for destructive effects. He even cited one of his patents.
But could he actually do it?
Well, most sources today are pretty skeptical. Again, the energy needed would be immense.
And there's no real proof he built one that worked.
No credible evidence, no.
Yeah.
That story linking it to the Tunguska event in Siberia, almost certainly fiction.
Right. And the earthquake machine, that famous story about shaking a building.
Yeah, the anecdote is he had a small oscillator, hit the building's resonant frequency, and caused vibrations.
Plausible? Maybe. Resonance can do weird things.
It can, but causing major damage or actual earthquakes, no evidence of that. More likely, just noticeable shaking. It's a great story, though.
It is. All these stories, they feed into this Tesla mythos, don't they? The genius versus Edison, the tragic figure.
Definitely. And there's some truth to the rivalry, the business side of things, but it's complex.
And there's that saying, genius is what we call it when crazy people succeed.
That really feels like it applies to Tesla sometimes, doesn't it? He was undeniably brilliant, visionary.
But maybe a bit out there later in life.
Sources do suggest he became more eccentric. Some claims perhaps stemmed from fanciful dreaming, as one source puts it, or maybe just the limits of physics understanding back then.
Okay, so let's shift from the speculative or unproven to something absolutely real and tangible that Tesla invented.
Right. The Tesla coil,
Yeah.
invented 1891. We know this works. We can build them.
So what is it, fundamentally?
It's an electrical resonant transformer circuit. Its purpose is to generate really high voltage, low current, high frequency AC electricity.
And its uses, originally.
Back in the day, spark gap radio transmitters used them. Wireless telegraphy. Also some early medical electrotherapy stuff.
And now, what are they used for today?
Mostly entertainment and education, really. You see those big ones in science museums making huge sparks. Hobbyists build them. They call themselves coilers.
Coilers, okay. Any practical uses still?
Some small ones, yeah. They're used as leak detectors in high vacuum systems and for something called Tesla phoresis.
Tesla phoresis? What's that?
It uses the coil's unique electric fields to line up tiny things, like carbon nanotubes. Pretty neat for nanotechnology research.
And the musical ones.
Yeah.
Those are amazing.
Oh yeah, musical Tesla coils. They modulate the spark output using MIDI signals, musical instrument digital interface, so the sparks literally play tunes.
Wild. Okay, so how does it work? What's the aha moment? You mentioned resonance.
Resonance is absolutely key. It's basically an air core transformer, but it's double-tuned.
Double-tuned, meaning?
Both the primary circuit, the input side, and the secondary circuit, the output side, are designed to resonate at the exact same frequency.
Like tuning forks.
Exactly like that. So you have a high voltage power supply charging a capacitor. Then a spark gap fires.
Creating an oscillation.
Right. That spark completes the primary circuit, and current starts oscillating back and forth very rapidly in the primary coil, which is usually just a few turns of heavy wire.
Okay.
That creates a changing magnetic field, which induces a current in the secondary coil, that tall one, with many, many turns of fine wire.
And because they're tuned together.
Energy transfers incredibly efficiently between them, oscillating back and forth. This resonance builds up the voltage in the secondary circuit enormously.
So the crazy high voltage isn't just from having more turns on the secondary coil, like a normal transformer?
No, not just that. The turns ratio helps, but it's the resonance that really pumps up the voltage. We're talking 50,000 volts to millions of volts.
Wow. And that metal donut on top. The toroid.
Ah, the top load, that's important too. It's smooth and has a large diameter. That helps spread out the electric field.
Why is that good?
It prevents the air around the terminal from breaking down too early, basically suppressing sparks from forming where you don't want them. This lets the voltage build even higher before you get those really long, spectacular streamer arcs shooting off it.
Fascinating stuff. Okay, so we know how they work. Let's talk safety. Because you see people getting close to these things, sometimes letting sparks hit them. There's this idea, the skin effect, right?
Ugh, yes. The skin effect myth. It's a really dangerous misconception among hobbyists.
The idea being that the high frequency makes the current travel only on the surface of your skin, so it's harmless.
That's the myth.
Yeah.
And it's true for metal wires, high frequencies do concentrate on the surface, but human tissue is not like a copper wire.
Okay.
The skin depth for typical Tesla coil frequencies, like 0.1 to 1 megahertz in your body, is actually quite deep. We're talking roughly 24 to 72 centimeters.
Wait, centimeters, that's deep inside.
Exactly. It's like 9 to 28 inches. So the current absolutely penetrates to vital organs. It's not just skin deep, not at all.
So the whole basis of it being safe because of the skin effect is just wrong.
Completely wrong. And dangerous. Think about it. Medical diathermy uses similar frequencies precisely because they penetrate and heat deep tissues for therapy.
Okay, that's a crucial point. So even if you don't feel as shocked because nerves don't respond much above 10 or 20 kilohertz.
Right, you don't get that ZAP feeling.
It doesn't mean it's safe. What are the real dangers then?
Deep tissue RF burns, for one, if an arc actually hits your bare skin. Or even worse, internal heating if the current finds a path through, say, narrow blood vessels. It can cook you from the inside out.
Ouch. That sounds bad.
It is. And even small coils, if the frequency happened to be low enough or if there are lower frequency components, could potentially carry enough current to interfere with your heart.
And there's another risk too, right, from the power supply.
Yes, a huge one. The arc itself, the high voltage streamer, can sometimes create a temporary conductive path back to the primary circuit.
Which is running on mains voltage.
Exactly. Lethal 50 or 60 hertz mains current, so you could get electrocuted by the input power, facilitated by the high voltage output arc. It's a major hazard.
Okay, so Tesla coils. Fascinating, demonstrate cool physics, but definitely not toys, and need serious respect.
Absolutely.
Now, this whole discussion about high frequencies, currents, and biological effects, it leads us naturally into modern concerns, doesn't it? About EMF.
It really does. It's the same fundamental physics, electromagnetic fields, just in a different context. Instead of big crackling coils, we're talking about phones, Wi-Fi, smart devices, even electric cars.
And the concern now is about non-ionizing EMF, right? Radio frequency, extremely low frequency,
Yeah.
the kind that doesn't directly break molecules like X-rays do.
Correct. And many experts, medical researchers, scientists, even market participants like insurers are saying this non-ionizing EMF poses potential risks. Significant health, liability, and reputational risks, according to one of our sources, a shareholder proposal.
What kind of specific concerns are being raised?
Well, one big one is vulnerability, especially for children. Their skulls are thinner, their bodies are still developing. The absorption of RF energy can be higher.
And safety limits. Are they adequate?
That's a major point of debate. The U.S. regulations haven't really changed since 1996.
Wow, 96. Technology has changed a lot since then.
Exactly. And those limits are primarily based on preventing short-term heating effects. They don't really account for potential long-term non-thermal effects that much of the newer research points to.
And a court actually told the SEC to reconsider its rules.
Yes, a federal court did remand the SEC's decision to retain those 96 limits, saying their justification wasn't adequately reasoned, especially regarding non-thermal effects and children's exposure.
What about transparency? Do companies tell consumers about EMF exposure from their products, like, say, in an electric car?
Apparently, often not prominently. The shareholder proposal mentions Tesla, Inc., the car company, saying they don't clearly inform buyers about RF or ELF, EMF risks, especially with cell phone use inside the vehicle, or even which seats might have lower exposure.
And studies have looked at EMF in connected cars.
Yes. They found passengers are exposed to various EMF types, and some levels were described as high compared to other daily exposures. Children, again, potentially getting higher doses.
So what's the growing scientific evidence suggesting these non-ionizing fields might do?
There's a growing body of research linking exposure to things like oxidative stress, DNA damage, memory issues, cancer risks, effects on neurological systems, reproductive health, even endocrine disruption.
Serious potential impacts.
Yes, and concerns extend to wildlife too. Effects on insects, plants, trees are being studied.
This sounds like it goes beyond just health concerns. Are there financial risks for companies?
Definitely. Lawsuits have already been filed alleging health damage from EMF from various devices and infrastructure.
And insurers, are they paying attention?
Oh, yes. Leading insurers have flagged 5G and wireless radiation as a high-risk issue. Many standard commercial liability policies now actually exclude coverage for claims related to EMF health effects.
So companies might be on the hook themselves.
Some, like Tesla, Inc., reportedly self-insure for these kinds of risks, which means if major problems arise, it hits their bottom line directly.
Which brings us back to that shareholder proposal. What are they asking for?
Transparency, basically. They want companies to report on how they're assessing and mitigating these potential health effects and the associated financial risks. Are they trying to design products with lower emissions? Are they competing on safety in this area?
So it's about being proactive, understanding the risks, and letting consumers know. What does this all mean for you listening to this, using your phone, maybe driving an EV?
It means the conversation is evolving. It's less about if there are biological effects from these fuels, a lot of science suggests there are, and more about what levels are safe, especially long-term, and how we manage this pervasive technology responsibly.
Right. Awareness seems key.
Awareness and demanding transparency, yeah. As users, understanding that these fields are part of our environment now, and pushing for more research and clearer information.
So wrapping up, we've gone from Tesla's almost mythical scalar waves and his grand, maybe impractical dreams of wireless power.
Through the very real invention of the Tesla coil, understanding how it works and its actual risks.
And connected it all the way to today's debates about the electromagnetic fields surrounding us from modern tech.
It really shows how science moves forward, doesn't it? Some ideas pan out, some don't, some were based on incomplete knowledge.
But they all kind of feed into the ongoing story, the ongoing exploration of these forces.
Yeah.
And it leaves us with a pretty big thought, I think, as we develop more and more wireless technology,
Yeah.
making our lives connected in ways Tesla maybe only dreamed of.
Those same electromagnetic waves bring really complex questions about health, about safety, about corporate responsibility.
How do we balance it all? The amazing benefits versus the need to really understand and manage any potential downsides, especially the unseen ones.
It makes you think maybe the deepest dives aren't just looking back at historical figures like Tesla, but looking critically at the forces we're using right now and their long-term implications.